If you read the Toyota forums, you'll know that everyone on those forums hates doing the right side CV axle on a Toyota because it's got a carrier bearing. And that's that right there. It's got a carrier bearing that holds the CV axle steady and it goes into that bracket. Now that's the problem. That bracket and the carrier bearing rust together. So I've got a way to fix that problem. Let me show you what that is. This came from Napa. It's a Dorman part. That's the part number there. We're going to get to that in just a second. Make sure you buy that box. Just don't open it because we might not need it. And we need a CV axle. Once you've got these parts, we're ready to go. So let's get started removing this axle. I've already taken the brakes off, which is not completely necessary, but it makes it a lot easier. So let's go right up here. I'm going to get that stabilizer link nut off. All right, smoking, but we got it. All right, this is the speed sensor. I'm just going to grab it with a 10mm and get it out of the way. Like on most Toyotas, it's got a bolt-in ball joint. I'm going to remove those. Now, it's got 117. This is what we use for the stabilizer link. That's a bolt. And the other two are nuts, but they're 19. Okay, we should be able to get the hub nut off, and then the axle will just fall right out. All right, for this hub nut, I'm gonna just take a pry bar and get it just wedged right in there. Hammer it in a smidge, and that's gonna unstake that nut. This particular nut is a 30mm 12 point. So you're gonna need a 12-point socket for that. If you are just using a wrench, you can put a pry bar right here to hold it. Oh yeah! You don't want to touch that with your bare hands. It's got a little bit of heat in her. Let's see if this axle will move. Oh heck yeah. Let's see if we can pull that axle all the way out of the hub. And we did. Now I'm going to move the hub. Just strap it away from where we're working. Now, according to the book, they want you to remove the tie rod end also, and something else too, but I'm just gonna go ahead and not do that because I don't think it's necessary. And watch this axle, it is hot. All right, have a look up here. That right there is what we're looking for. That's the circlip. Let's go underneath. I'll show you how it looks getting it off. Yep, there we go. All right, got that. Now we need to get rid of that bolt there. That's just the last piece holding the bearing inside the bracket. 14mm on this one. That was easy. And if we zoom out, CV axle should just pull right out. Now don't grab it from the outer edge here. This will just break it in half. Same thing goes for that joint right there. You're gonna have to go from behind here and give it a pull. Not happening, obviously. The service manual says you got to hook it from behind here with a metal hook. It's a special service tool. I've got a different kind of tool. Let's get that. All right, slide hammer attachment. This is what it looks like. We're just going to screw it onto the slide hammer. I'm going to reach back here and see if I can grab the CV axle from behind that joint. There we go. So the slide hammer is just going to pull it out. I'm pulling pretty hard on it. This is what I expected to see. Okay, so that was the easy way. That's the way the book tells you to do it. Rust got in our way. I was expecting that, and that's why we're here for this video. So let's go underneath and I'll show you the new method that I've come up with that really saves you a lot of time and a tremendous amount of hassle. Let's go. Have a look at that bracket. Now that first bolt there is behind the CV shaft. It's not hard to get to. We can get that. There's one up on top, right up there. That's a little tougher, but we could still do it. But then there's one right there. And that's not gonna come out. We gotta cut this bracket off. So there it is. Always avoid hitting that oil pan, that would suck. But we're cut all the way through this bracket. I had to cut into the CV joint just to get the blade all the way through, which you can see on that side. So we're all the way through to the bearing. All right, I've got a good sharp chisel. If I can just wedge that thing in there, that might give it enough of a wedge that it'll spread that out, hopefully. Oh, look at that. I'm really glad that worked. It's a little easier than I thought it would be. I thought I would have to make 2 cuts. Let me grab a pry bar. I'm just gonna stick a pry bar up in there. It's gonna pry this way against that axle. Oh, and the bracket here. I'm hearing crunching. Oh, heck yeah. Look at that. Easy peasy, baby. All right, same pry bar. I'm just gonna put it right there on the bearing and give it a few taps. There we go. Oh yeah. All right, we got that CV out. You can see that boot is gone. That boot's torn also. And there's the bearing. This is supposed to roll free, but since I pounded on it, it's not gonna roll much. Now all we have to do is get that the bracket out. The first half dozen times I've done this job, it took hours. I tried things like cutting both sides of the CV axle and then getting the bracket off to save the bracket, and then use a press to get it out, which does work, but it's a whole lot more cutting. This seems pretty easy. These are 14. This is the easy, convenient way to do this job. And really, I mean, the bracket costs a few bucks or whatever. It's not cheap, but just make it part of your plan. So, you know, if you plan on doing a CV job, if it's not an emergency, it's just throwing oil. I like all this oil up here. It's just throwing oil, but it's not giving you too many problems. Wait a week or two until you can save up for a bracket and make it part of the job. This thing is, well, at Napa I paid about 80 bucks for it. You can get them online for cheaper. It's just a piece of cast iron. Check out the interior of it. It really doesn't take that much rust to just seize those parts together. All right, we've got a couple locating pins on there that match up to those holes. Let's see if I can get that in there. All right, we're gonna set the impact to stun. We don't want to kill these things. It's just going into aluminum here. Factory torque achieved. Now what I'm going to do is very gingerly and smoothly put that dust cover through the bracket and get it as close to the transmission as possible. I'm just going to kind of set it down here. Now this end is just going to be hanging. What I need to be very careful about is getting this into the transmission without damaging the oil seal on it. So I'm using both hands here. Now I'm kind of just trying to find the teeth so they mesh. Let's do this from back here. Oh, there. It's inside the transmission, but it's not all the way in, so I'm going to hammer it. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so I mentioned that the shaft is in the bracket and also in the transmission, so it's staying nice and straight and parallel. So I'm going to hold this part up and give it a couple taps. All right, it looks like we've got it here. The bearing is just to the left of the groove for the circlip. So we can put that in there, tighten up our anti-spin bolt, and we can see that the transmission is nice and sealed there. This axle nut is a 32 millimeter, so I had to grab a different socket, but it's a 6-point, so at least it's something that you're more likely to have. I'm just gonna zip it on with the impact here, and we'll torque it down. We got a set torque wrench to kill on this one. 217 foot-pounds. It's kind of a lot. Now there's nothing keeping the rotor from spinning, so I'm going to just take a screwdriver, stick it down there, and it'll just jam against the brake caliper there. So let's go 217. Here we go. Well, 219 point whatever, 219.7 is where we got it, so that's good. That groove is where this nut needs to be hammered down to. So we're just going to take the end of this chisel like that, and I'm just going to bend that nut down in there. That little dimple there, that means this thing isn't going to turn by accident. I know that CV axles are tough, especially if you're doing this in your driveway. I've made 2 other videos, and one of them I really like. It's a impossible CV axle, so if you're still having trouble with your axle, it just won't come out, watch that video over here. It'll take you step by step through everything that I went to get that thing out. If you don't learn anything, it's entertaining for sure. Thanks for watching. I'll see you over there.